I learned about the CIC in 2003 when I was retiring from the Army. As I became a Department of the Army civilian, I had a number of colleagues who told me that they had really enjoyed courses at CIC because they could tailor projects within the courses to meet the needs of their jobs. So that's when I started. I was working as an enterprise architect at that time, and I came over and I enrolled in the enterprise architect program, and right off the bat with my professors, I was able to establish projects that had meaningful purpose that I could take back. When I think about the enterprise architecture program, I'm reminded I wrote a strategy one time. That strategy was essential to setting up an organization in its entirety, and we became a thriving organization. And this was all just what I was being taught here at the school that they let me put together in strategies. When I was called upon in roughly 2011, 2012, to consider going into cybersecurity. They needed a number of staff members to leave their professions they were in and go into cybersecurity within our organization. And I got a hold of the to the CIC and enrolled in the program for the Masters of Science program in Cyber Leadership. Throughout that course, I was able to, and that was probably 2.5 years of study it took me to go through that. I was able to tailor each and every project that I did during the course to what I needed. In fact, the strategy that I developed on organization culture is something that I now use in my own organization. So everything, even though I did that course 3 years ago, I got out that strategy, pulled it out, and I'm applying it today. So it's been very valuable. So that's where I see my future with CIC. I know that things will change. We have a new director who's very interested in how we have implemented the risk management framework. And he thinks that we have taken it to an extreme, that it's become a very laborious effort that takes months and months. Well, I know that the CIC offers a class in risk management framework. It's a perfect chance for me to get away from the office for a period of time and really think about what I need and how I can evolve and with my new director to meet what he is trying to achieve. My capstone project was about using intelligence to drive cybersecurity operations. I thought this was a very important area to really think through and spend some time on because the attack vectors are so numerous, the potential threats are so numerous, and resources are so limited that you can't just go against everything. And intelligence is a way, using all-source intelligence, looking at all the different threats out there and understanding them and what their interests are that you have as your assets in your organization is an important thing to understand, and it's a good way to apply cybersecurity in that regard. Some of the most interesting things, though, about it were underneath using intelligence. They were about standing up an organization, about hiring the right people, about giving them the right objectives, about developing the right culture in the organization. I'll tell you, the organization that I took over was much different than that. They were a compliance-based organization, and meeting the controls and meeting the checkbox that you had done it was the culture of things. But we have a new director, and I bring my own vision for what the culture should look like, and we've been incorporating that and trying to do it. I'll tell you, as I worked from and assessed this organization from the outside. I was not in this cybersecurity division. I was next to it, an adjacent division. It was very easy to see what their challenges were. Now I'm responsible for it. And suddenly I find that getting mired down in the daily duties sometimes overcomes my ability to still guide and direct the organization towards a strategy, towards a vision. I remember one of the things I learned early here at CIC, and that was to, if you really feel it's going to be challenging to do it, write into the objectives of your performance evaluation. So I've done that. And you might think that's a bit dangerous, and it really is, because now I'm on the line to make sure that I do these things. But it was the right thing to do. And I know now my director, in approving my objectives, bought into my strategy. And he thinks it's the right thing to do. And so now I'm on that path forward. Both of the courses of study that I've done here at CIC have had an impact on my career progression. When I first studied enterprise architecture, one of the first class projects I had was to write a strategy for establishing an enterprise architecture program. When I was presenting that to my director, a member of the audience was from the Army Operations Staff, the G3. And he was from the Chief Architect's Office of the Army and felt strongly that what I had done for Army intelligence in the G2 staff could be scaled for the Army. So I was hired, and that was a promotion to go and do that job. The next opportunity I had was when our leadership needed people in my community, in the intelligence community, to transfer into cybersecurity. It really was a matter of resources and needing people to become involved in it. I wanted to become the chief of the cybersecurity division for the G2. I was applying for that role, and in my resume, I wrote about my capstone project. And it's a bit non-traditional. I know you'd think you write about your accomplishments, those things you did, and then the results of those accomplishments, and that's what you see. But I really think what I said about my capstone project was the clincher in me getting this job, because I wrote in there and told them how I had designed a plan to be able to take an organization and develop them completely as a workforce. And I really think when the reviewers were looking at it, and I really could tell in my interview as well when I was applying for the chief cybersecurity job, they wanted to know more about that and could it be applied and asked about it. So I think in both cases, the CIC has been instrumental in me being promoted throughout my career. What sets CIC apart is the ability of the professors to tailor the projects to meet your professional needs. In every case, I would come and I'd have a challenge at work, something I was trying to work through. The professors worked closely with me to understand what those needs were, to develop a meaningful project that applied everything that was being learned there, but also to a need that I had in my workplace. And I think that's what sets CIC apart. I would offer to any prospective student, when you're thinking about coming to a course you're preparing and before you look at what your needs are in the workplace, and when you come to the class, convey those right away with the professor so that they can work with you to tailor it. And that's really what makes this a meaningful education experience. It's that you can apply everything you're learning to what your needs are on the job to help you move ahead.